inspire, and motivate you to go out and achieve your goals. And now, here's your host, Gary Rahman.
Time keeps on slipping into the future. I wanna fly like an eagle to the sea. Fly like an eagle, let my spirit carry me. I want to fly like an eagle till I'm free. I go through the revolution.
Hey, this is Gary Rahman, your real estate rock star, and you are listening to Connection. Well, folks, I've got a great show for you today. We are doing something new. So a lot of things have been happening new. As you guys know, we went from just doing this show via podcast, live podcast, to now the YouTube channel. But wanted to, keep it growing, keep it innovative. What I'm going to be doing is actually adding a co-host. So my thoughts are that we're going to be adding a co-host once a month, so you guys will get a chance to see some amazing people on a regular basis, kind of do the show with me, share with you kind of their platform and what they're doing, as well as just, I think, enhance what we're already doing here on Connection and making hopefully a deeper connection with my listeners. So I've got someone who I've had on the show before, who I thought the energy was incredible when she was on the show. She's doing some amazing things now, and so we're going to be bringing her on in just a yeah, actually, I'm going to introduce her. I'm going to do it just like we would, right? It's a co-host, so it's not a guest like normal. So Phoenix Sohl, hey, this is my.
What's going on? What's going on, everybody?
Yes, indeed. So we have Phoenix on. She's going to be Phoenix. What I do, if you can kind of recall when you were on the show, I know it's been about a year or so, I think, when you were on, but I like to kind of reading a blog. So I've been writing these blogs now for, pretty much, I think, since it's been about 2 years. I've got over 2 years of blogs.
Nice.
And most of them are inspirational, but I do get in a little bit of politics on them as well at times. But I actually didn't write one yet for December. I've got some things kind of down, but I actually haven't finalized it or sent it over to my editor. So what I wanted to do this week is read one of the older ones. It's not that old. I wrote it in September, called Born Winners Don't Cry, They See. So Born Winners Don't Cry, They See. So if you're watching this via YouTube, you can go to the website, GaryRahman.com, go to the blog section, you'll see it there. And of course, if you pick this show up via the website, just come out of where you would go to for the radio show and go into the blog section, just a few tabs beneath. So Born Winners Don't Cry, They Seize. Here we go. If you're reading this, you're a winner. You might not believe it, but I'm telling you, you are. So why don't you believe it? Are you afraid of what winning looks like? Are you afraid of the story that those who live a successful life are bad people? What shit are you telling yourself? Are you telling yourself that being rich is evil or money is evil? Well, whatever it is you're telling yourself, it is what's keeping you comfortable with where you are in life. Where are you in life? Exactly where you want to be. That's right, you are where you want to yourself a reason to play small, to tap out, or to occupy your time with shit that won't make you stretch. Born winners don't cry, they seize. This life is short and none of us are born. If you think that because you're born into because you weren't born into wealth that is not in the cards for you, then you're right. But you don't have if you change the messaging. If you think because you're black or a woman that life has a glass ceiling and you can't break through it, then you're right. But it doesn't have to be but it doesn't have to be if you change your outlook. Born winners don't cry, they seize. If you believe in a higher power, and I mean really believe, then you will get off your ass and live. You will not wait until the afterlife. You will live your best life now. With you and so many that say they believe in a higher power don't really believe in shit but the bull that they have been telling themselves. They co-sign it by being around others like them that keep their reality a cycle of unfulfilled greatness. What I believe is a waste of God's gift. They complain about past failures versus focusing on today's presence, today's opportunities, today's true blessings. Born winners don't cry, they seize. I hate to see and hear people not being their best selves because I know that they are cheating themselves. Better yet, cheating the world or of their greatness. Best yet, they are disrespecting the God in them, the God that placed their many gifts at their feet. The gifts they kick and watch waste away as they bitch and complain about not getting a break in life. They continue to drift and play small while the world suffers because of their absence of their genius. Born winners don't cry, they seize. I wake up each day praying on my gifts as my mind envisions God's promise to me that I will be forever present and seize my prey. Why, you still ask? Because born winners don't cry, they seize. So, folks, that is September, Phoenix. That's the September blog. Folks can get that from going to the website, GaryRockman.com. And I know, too, Phoenix, that you have a very artistic side to yourself as well. I've been kind of, since you were on the show, probably a little prior to, but really after, I started really kind of following you a little. On the sound there.
Hey, there we go.
There we go. Cool.
Lost you for a second there.
Sorry, did you hear what I was saying? Did you share with them? I know that you got that artistic side to you. You. I was following you on Facebook, getting a lot of your inspirational pieces that you were doing, and then I know you have a video out and a new LP. Share with folk a little bit about what's going on.
All right. Yeah. I'm out here. Just dropped a single called Charmer on November the 1st. Have the video out for that and just campaigning and connecting with different people, going on various different radio shows and just continuing to inspire. My primary, social media platform is Instagram. I've got a nice following there. However, I'm going to be going back into Facebook and, partnering with some pretty big brands to bring some really exciting things forward. But yeah, I'm out here just cultivating every day, doing inner work and outer work and, attempting to live my best life in the way that, your your blog, your September blog really just spoke to me, you know, and really just spoke of how you just got to get out here and just make things happen.
Appreciate it. Yeah. So no, that's great. So where we'll check out the where can people get the new song and check out the video?
The new song is on all major platforms, Spotify, iTunes, you know, so on and so forth. Tidal, whatever you have, just look it up, Charmer. And in addition to that, the video is on YouTube.
Okay, cool. Good. Well, let's jump right into it. So, you know, there's a lot going on right now in the country, as always, with the president, with just politics and period. But one of the things that kind of struck me, I guess, over the last week or so is the rape case where the guy was totally basically given no jail time, no probation, doesn't have to file as a sex offender, kind of walks away free. And then we had a young lady who, on the other side of this, was protecting herself or fought against and killed her rapist, and got some crazy sentencing, like got life or something. And I'm looking up some details right now. But are you familiar with what's going on with that?
Yeah, with Centoya Brown. I am familiar with that. I wasn't familiar with the other case that you were speaking of. But yeah, she was up for parole, I believe. And I believe she was sentenced to an additional 51 years. Yeah.
Crazy.
Very much so. You know, but I think that we're really in an illuminating time right now, you know, where everything in the dark is coming to the light. You know, none of this stuff is new.
Right.
You know, however, now we have social media, now we have our phones, now we have the ability to really just get the message, get the word out there in lightning speed. And so it's time for us as society to become aware and to make some changes, because this has been going on for quite some time.
Yeah. So it's like you said, I mean, a lot of things have, I don't know if it's social media and camera phones and whatnot. So we get a lot of information a lot faster today than we used to. But like you said, these things have been happening. But I guess what is it, you know, I think for a lot of people, I don't know if you're the same way, Phoenix, but it feels more like Jim Crow, if you will, maybe because we're, you know, it's so in our face, right? Because of all the technology now. But I feel, you know, just, you know, so many people calling the police on Black people just being normal, just doing nothing, right? And we know that these things happen before, but again, it's like it felt a little bit before, I guess, like things were a little bit better. And with everything that we're seeing now, it's kind of like, you know, I'm feeling like we're, you know, like years ago, and we still actually have people who think like this is amazing. And like my father-in-law, he said, you know, when Barack became president, he thought that, you know, there was kind of the old regime of how people thought was kind of going away. His age group was kind of dying off, or they were just, you know, in this the younger age group, your age group, and even my age group were of a different mindset. But a lot of these cases are young people.
Mm-hmm. You know, I feel as though the difference now between maybe 10 years ago is that media is no longer controlled by corporation. And so you have individuals like yourself, individuals like myself, who are able to get this information out to the masses in a way that it's not controlled. If the desire is for whomever, whatever, politicians, whatever, to make things seem a certain way when they are in control of the conversation and of the platforms of the conversation. That's how it's going to roll. But, we're in a different space now where we all are able to really use our voices to make things known. So again, I think that this is just a continuum of what's been. There's just a shift in power that's happening. And before there can be massive change, everything from the dark has to come to the light, And so now we're in this space of waking up, For so long, people of other colors could say, oh, well, this is this and this is that. No, now, no, this is what it is. And I'm a millennial and I am a military child. And so I grew up all over the world. And when I moved to Georgia, we didn't have Black history in the school that I was in. And so I started a petition, really, because I was, one of not many, to get Black history in the schools. I remember us having to have conversations to administration about people not wearing the rebel flags. This is not a new thing. This is just something that is now you're able to look at it, via your camera phone, or via your smartphone on Instagram, on, Facebook. So it's just coming forward so we can start this dialogue that brings forth the healing and not mask it and act like it's getting better when, everyone can walk out of their home and put on a smile. And then when they walk back in their home, they speak a certain way, or they have these thoughts and these ideas that they perpetuate, to their, friends and family that are of like mind in their community. So now it's just take the Band-Aid off, rip it off, say what you need to say, do what you need to do so we can start this conversation and bring about healing.
Yeah. So that brings me to a good point. So I've been having these conversations with a lot of friends of mine. I'm right here in what I call, we call this DC Beltway kind of the Hollywood of politics, if you will. So it's kind of like, the folk inside the Beltway here are typically more politically savvy, informed, whatever you want to call it, than probably most of the rest of the country. Similar to, I guess, if you live out in LA or in Atlanta now, you guys are light years ahead of pretty much everywhere else as it pertains to the music entertainment industry. So with that being said, now, the importance of voting is, I feel, stressed a lot here. You see a lot of, and I think really around the country during election time, it gets a lot of play. But here, politics is 365, 24-hour cycle. It doesn't stop. People talk about politics all day long. I have myself, I'm 48 years old, and I have voting since I was 18, right? I've done a lot of different things on the voting sidelines, from voter registration drives, you name it. I've been involved. I've done canvassing. I've done all of that, right? But I'm also been an activist all of my life as well. And when I'm out here talking in the communities where I'm looking to invest in properties, or just rapping with cats about getting a job, or whatever the case may be, a lot of the younger cats today are not interested in voting, especially in cities like, a lot of urban cities like Baltimore. They don't see how it really makes real impact in their lives, right? We're talking about Sandtown, for example, here in Baltimore, where the riots kind of really broke out, has one of the highest, incarceration rates in the country, has one of the highest dropout rates in the country, has one of the largest unemployment rates in the country. And that hasn't changed no matter who's been in office. When we talk about local politics, state politics, or even national politics. from a millennial, share some of your perspective of your peers and you all's conversations as it pertains to elections. You guys just had a super critical governor election that basically got stolen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So share a little bit about that.
It's so funny because I voted, because I knew that it was a critical, election, and I wanted to do my part. But really, I voted because my ancestors, fought for the right.
Okay.
However, I asked my mom, and I asked a few people too, and I think this is a millennial thing, like, speaking of the presidential election, right? If I vote, does it matter if the Electoral College ultimately makes the decision? Like, I think that my generation is a generation I know this. I went to the Hope Global Forum, and it's like a really amazing forum that brings out like super world leaders in Atlanta every year with the organization Operation Hope. And there was a millennial summit, right? And it talked about like us being the generation of having trust issues because so many of the things that our parents instilled in us like collapsed, when we were supposed to like rise, to the regime and reap the benefits of it.
Right.
Just case in point, like, okay, go to school, when you get out, you're going to have a job and this, that, and then the market collapses and then everybody's fighting for a position. And there are people that have been working 20 years, that are way more viable for the position than someone that's fresh out of school or what have you. But long story short, like, I think that is the question of my generation. Like, if things are taken from, if things are being taken, what is the benefit? Like, what is the purpose of like voting if nothing's going to happen? Mm-hmm. But what the powers that be want to happen. We want to see change. Like, we're a generation that wants to see change. We want to bring about change. And we do that in innovative and different ways, which is often why we're kind of looked at, interestingly. But if we're going to keep doing the same thing over and over again and get the same result, isn't that the definition of insanity? Like, so I just think that we want to see some change, and the old way of going about it clearly isn't working. So we are trying to figure out what's going to really make a difference.
Yeah, sure. What do you have? Some improvement in our communities and in our own lives. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we were breaking up a little bit, but it looks like we're back in.
All right, good. So tell me, have you kind of thought about that? Have you thought about some innovative ways to go about change?
Yeah, we are definitely a generation that understands the power of media and technology, and so we really respond to that. We really respond to digital media. We really respond to music. We really respond to entertainment. So I think that is the way to change the narrative through our platforms, through our music, to really impart change. Like, you look at, in the 60s, you had a lot of musicians that exercise their voice, and utilize their following to really evoke massive change.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's just kind of gonna be a resurgence of that. And really the systems have to change. We're speaking of the systems needing to change so we can continue to exercise our voice. And in addition to that, promote those that are really, attempting to get into politics and really make a difference, you know, by supporting those individuals in ways that we can at the community level. And then I think that, you know, once you start at home.
Yeah.
And then when you start at home and you connect on a community level, then the masses grow and strength is in numbers.
Yeah. No, dig it. So one of the things that I've been sharing with a lot of folk is I think that the biggest change comes through the pockets, right? Of us actually pooling our dollars together. So I'm a big supporter of like black banks, banking black as well as buying black, and really focusing on black. You know, I've got a lot of like white followers. I've got white friends, and to be my friend and to be like a follower of me, you have to. I think you got to be consciously aware, because the things I talk about is I'm not singling out or saying or I'm not any particular group, but I am being specific as far as where I think our focus needs to be as a people, being a people that's been marginalized in this country and really around the world in many cases. That if we actually were more like some of the other groups, like the Asian, we don't vote in national elections at high rates. And what a lot of people don't know too, I don't know if you know this, Phoenix, but we actually, blacks, African Americans, are usually either the highest or we're just a few percentage points lagging when it comes to the highest ethnic group that votes. And a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, that black people don't vote. And it's actually like totally opposite of that. And what's even more ironic is that the nationwide, I guess, the numbers are like 60% of Americans vote, which is not really a good number. I think it should be higher nationwide, that number. And I'll even say, everybody's number should be a little higher. One of the other things is those with, like, let's say a college degree and making, I think the number is like $75,000 or more, are the larger, they percentage wise, they vote more. They vote, in the 70 to close to 80 percentile, where those who don't have a degree and make less than that $70,000 or $75,000, whatever it is, tend to, of course, be a smaller percentage. But get this, what my studies have also kind of shown me is that that's not necessarily the case when it comes to black people. Like, that number is not the case. That's more white population than it is black population, because the majority of us are not the college educated and don't make the 70,000 plus a year. So a large population of blacks that vote are coming from basically really, low middle class to even poor, versus our white counterparts that tend to be more affluent and more educated. So there's a lot of misconceptions about that. But I bring that up because I think those who are really so headstrong or whatever about voting and we need to vote, I think there's really, it says something to we as a people are very optimistic in this system, though we're the most marginalized.
Right. For sure. Yeah.
So I'm always more so on this groove, right? I've gotten kind of really focused on pooling our resources and not really being so concerned who's in office. If there are those that, because the other thing is, like, now when in Dr. Claude Anderson did a study in 1960, and that study showed that there were little over 100 people, 120 some, 100, not even think it was that many. I think it was 102, 103 people nationwide, Black public elected officials, right? 1960. Then he checked out all the different standings. So he looked at where we were as far as home ownership, where we were education, employment, business owners, etc. And then he did that same study again in 1990. And in 1990, when he did the study, 9,000 Black public elected officials nationwide.
Mm.
But our standings had either remained the same or in some cases had gone backwards. So, so it didn't really matter that these now that had these same positions. So again, from banking Black, buying Black, and focusing on Black causes is a true way to change the system. And if we have those candidates, like you mentioned, that are doing great work, or that we feel we trust and we believe what they're saying, that we elect them and then hold them accountable to work the inside game of within the Beltway or in our local politics or whatever the case may be. What's your thoughts on some of that?
No, like I'm totally there. I think that, just as conditioning, we've been taught to look outside of ourselves for savior, just for savior. And it starts inside. It starts inside of our homes. It starts in our communities. And that's definitely how we invoke change, in changing ourselves, educating ourselves. And in addition to that, sharing those resources within our communities to really impact the change and to really be the change that we want to see, But that education piece is so critical. It's so critical.
Education in what sense?
In every sense, expanding our minds in learning, more about money and finances and, implementing, financial strategies and investing and growing our, generational wealth. And in a lot of our families, just speaking, in the Black community, like that's not taught, and it was systemically not taught for quite some time to, keep us at a certain level. But now it's our responsibility to get that information for ourselves and to desire more for ourselves and for our families.
Yeah, dig it.
So I'm right there with you. Like it starts here. It starts in the home. And, I was listening to one of my favorite thought leaders, when he talked about societally, well, not societally, but historically, many of the wealthiest families, all of the information that they distributed, to one another, through one another, were located in the home. They had these huge libraries where they would have, all of the books and all of the information and host masterminds. And it's the same premise that we just have to just rinse and repeat.
Yeah, dig it. Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's kind of I guess the whole idea of this show too. The whole connection is to kind of disseminate information to folk and bringing people on to share their experiences, their background, like how they made it through or how they navigated the system, and what they're doing right now that we can model, that others can model and successful in their fields or what have you. I think so. That's kind of like the premise of this, But yeah, I feel that. My kids actually have started my wife and I, we have now he's 11. So an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old. And for now, like almost 2 years now, they've had their own swing trading company, trading stocks.
Nice.
And And so, you know, sharing with people because they've been speaking as well, and they'll soon will be having a website that people can follow their trades. But I've been sharing with people that the stock market, for example, or trading, you know, all together, is something that is, if there is anything that's kind of colorblind, it's right. It's
Mhm.
it is non-sexist, right? You can get on your computer, you can trade. They don't know, you know, any gender. They don't know ethnicity. They don't know they don't know
Mhm.
sexual orientation. None of those things are on there when you're trading. You have to be checking to into the up potential to be able to grow wealthy is uh, is limitless,
For sure.
right? So it's just something else to kind of like for people to kind of think about. Uh, Longer controlled by one family or, you know, a couple of different companies, maybe mainstream media, but like you said, you can get a lot of information today from just regular people. Now, the question though I have for you, Phoenix, is how reliable though is that necessary information, right? Because everybody, you know, you can pick up a camera doesn't mean you're a journalist, right? You can have a radio show doesn't mean that the content that you're providing is accurate content. So how do we
Mhm.
kind of balance the both? How do we make sure that people? Because I see a lot of shit on social media, folk who actually I respect,
Mhm.
and I see it, and I'm like, man, this shit's so inaccurate.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
they have a following. You know, I know cats who've got followings of, you know, hundreds of thousands of people. And so what they say and what they put out on their platform, people galvanize behind their words. And it's like, yo, that shit ain't
Mm.
even accurate. Like,
Right.
it's kind of scary, right? You know?
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying that mainstream media doesn't, they made Jesus a white man, you know what I'm saying? So we know they mastered that shit. But, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, um, I don't want to follow another. I don't want to do just because something worked effectively, right? To marginalize the people. I don't necessarily want to follow in that footstep, right? I want to
Yeah.
create something that's righteous, if you will.
Yeah. For sure. I feel like, whenever you're learning something new or you get a tidbit of information, it's always a personal responsibility to learn more and to not just hone in on one source. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's, when you were, learning about real estate, like, and I'm sure you still are. How many courses have you taken? How many people have you listened to? I mean, it's a continuum
Mm-hmm.
where you continue to expand your knowledge and you don't go on what one person has said as law, you know? So that's our responsibility. I feel that, one of my biggest things that I ask myself is, who do I listen to? And so I'm very mindful about who I listen to, because if that person is speaking to me or imparting wisdom to me about a various subject, that means that they are, and this is just how I kind of govern myself, they are a master in that arena.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not a master in that arena, then really it's not their authority. That's just how I look at things, in terms of like my education. Like if I am like, okay, I'm actively looking for some information in real estate, I'm not gonna go to my homeboy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not. Like let me call Gary up, let me call individuals up that I know have been in the game for 25 plus years that, have the information that I need. So it's our responsibility to be very mindful about what we engage in and what we take in, what we take into our subconscious. I don't watch everything. I don't listen to everybody. I don't follow everybody because that's a diet.
Right.
And you got to be aware of what your diet is, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So that I just think that that's our personal responsibility.
That's our diet. I like that.
That's what we eat,
Food for the mind.
Food, mind, body, soul.
Yeah, dig it. Yeah. So, so I mean, kind of move and we move forward, and I know that you said you're similar. You kind of like, we don't want to repeat failed behavior over and over. We want to continue to do the same things that we know have not worked. So we've been voting now for over 50 years. The Voting Rights Act got signed in 1965, and here it is almost 2019, and much of the same exists. So to shake it up, we're talking shaking it up. How do you? One of the other things that I've also kind of want to ask you, being a millennial, is there are a lot of these politicians. They're 70, they're 80. Some of them have been right, but they're 70, they're 80, and I'm speaking more so even on a national level. And the decisions that they're voting on right now, most of them won't be around to see the impact, good or bad. Some things they're voting on could be benefits, some could be to our detriment. But nevertheless, they're making decisions for people your age and younger that will get the brunt of what they're voting on. I mean, still me too, as well. But if I go at 70, 80 years old, you do the same. You'll live a hell of a lot longer than me. Or through those decisions. What are millennials? How do you guys feel about that? Is that something that's discussed? Do you guys look at the age of the candidate? Are you guys kind of like, same old from the standpoint of this person has said the same song or over and over again? What's the feel?
That's really interesting. I can speak for myself. That's not even something that I really even thought about, to be honest. Which that's fascinating. Like, that's a really, really good question. And I feel like this, like any system, or, that's any system, any industry. If you're not evolving, you're dying, and I think I think we're feel like we're really approaching, like, the death of our system and the reemergence of our system, whereby there will be, I'm a believer, like I'm an optimist. I believe that there will be changes that will be made. But again, like even with politics, I don't place my success or think of like my success or my life, being extremely affected by this outside, it's outside of me. And the decisions that some 70-year-old has made, call it, call it ignorance, call it youth, whatever, but I really feel like, again, it starts inside of my household and my community, and, and expanding and growing from there, and really being able to, bring about the change that I want to see within my life and in my world, So that's a great question. I'm going to continue to stew on that. But as far as where I am right now, that's where I reside.
Yeah. I've been talking about, I've been, in these different communities, and I got this is an activist guy, and you can probably find something on YouTube, because I think he had a video that went viral couple of years ago, where he actually confronted Jamal Bryant, who is leaving Baltimore and will be in, I think he's already in Atlanta. If you're familiar with Jamal Bryant, Reverend Jamal Bryant, one of the more uh, outspoken, definitely more colorful black ministers in the nation. His dad, and I think both his parents here in Baltimore were ministers, and he was part of the Empowerment Temple. But he's moved to Baltimore. He's a frat brother of mine, Kappa Alpha Psi, and he was in the hood. He went to the hood, and he had named P.F. Boone. P.F. Boone confronted him out in the hood, like, "Look, dude, come here. You've been talking. You don't do. Stay your ass out of. Don't come back here no more." And it went viral. I know that they were both invited to do some reviews on the radio stations, a few different stations. I think they kind of came to some, middle ground, if you will. But PF is like he's a boots on the ground brother. I mean, he's not one of those cats who's real big on voting. He will be at City Hall arguing a piece of legislation or arguing the failure of a piece of non-drafted legislation or just failed policies, right? So he does that like big time, but he's feeding kids. He's feeding kids who may not have a meal when they leave school. After school, he's grilling up hot dogs in the public park and things like that. He's got book drives going. He's got clothes drives going, just with regular everyday people. And I've got another friend of mine who's got hip hop, who's the founder of Hip Hop Detox, is an organization out of Chicago. Same thing, boots on the ground, very involved, not heavy on who the fuck to vote for. You know what I'm saying? But like really active, right? And neither of these guys, if you spoke to any of them, especially P.F. Boone, I mean, he even we've in on politicians. So he is really not one of those cats that you can go and tell go vote, like, and I don't know. I don't know if he votes or not, I mean, real talk, but he goes in, right? So I bring those two guys up because they have big followings of people knowing that they're doing real work. They're not talkers, but they are so far from go vote, right? And then you have the flip. You got cats who are like, they get real active every 2 years around election time about voter registration drives and that type of thing. But you hear, they're like crickets.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The rest of the time. Or if they are talking, it's just, if they lost the election, they're talking about the opponent and how bad they are.
Right.
Or if they won the election, they're just in love and they're just talking about how great the person is. But they're doing no real work.
Right.
So from a millennial, like what strikes you, what gets you guys, at least hell, and I know you can't speak for all millennials, generalizing when I even say it that way, but what in your group, your core group, what are some of the shit that you guys talk about as it relates to that? Do you guys see go again more of the same, like that's not the way? What's your feel?
We're a generation of action oriented, like, and to trust somebody, again, we're speaking about trust, know, like, and trust, they got to be out here doing it. You know, I can't speak for my entire generation, but just for myself, like, you know, we look at, or I look at Washington and ain't nothing getting done.
Mm.
So, but if I look at individuals like that are out here, they're connecting with the people, which is what matters. You know, they are educating, which is what matters. And that's what brings about change.
Mm-hmm.
If they're giving, you know, like that's one of the universal laws, then they're out here like, you know, creating transformation. They're out here imparting. They're on purpose. What is the purpose behind these roundtables or these meetings when there's gridlock and nothing's getting done? When are we going to stop talking and start acting? That's what matters. So I don't care. That's why, you know, when you ask me that question, like, I don't care about the 70-year-old that's making the decision. I really don't. I just don't, because, you know, everybody has something in common for sure. Like everybody can relate to something. Right. I feel, you know, relate about something, connect. It's the human experience.
Mm-hmm.
However, they don't know my story, you know, and have they taken the time to learn from individuals that look like me, that have experienced what I've experienced, to be able to be the voice for me? If not, then it doesn't benefit me. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like that is a leader's responsibility. If you're leading anything, it's your responsibility to get out here and know who you are, you know, who you are, like working and being in service. Let's say that, being in service for and with. If you don't know who you are in service for or with, like this goes down to business. Who's your target market? You know, where are they? What do they do? What do they engage in? What do they like? What don't they like? Like, this is fundamental. If you don't know that, you can't speak for me. And you're not leadership for me. So yeah, I want to see some action, because that's the kind of person that I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm out here doing my part, attempting to do my part, you know, and there's so much more to do. So again, who do you listen to? You listen to somebody that is living their purpose and, you know, seizing the day and doing what they say they're going to do. That's who you know, like, and trust.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, no, I feel that. And I appreciate that. So they're talking about who's going to run for president. You know, they're talking about old folk who've been there already. Even Hillary's talking about running again. But like in that, you know, I don't really see again in that party anything new.
Mm-mm.
Right? How do they go about? What is it? You know, what's so wild is that as I watch social media and I hear people talk about how he's an idiot and this, that, and the other, I'm like, man, you know, well, he outsmarted all these, you know, supposedly very smart people, right? He got elected. It was like, however he did it, you know, dumb or whatever they want to call him, but he won. And I don't know what the words were in Georgia. It was this last election. It was like, oh, this is blue wave coming, right? And they were like, the blue wave is going to have all these Democrat senators and Democrat governors and everything else, right? And nationwide, like that blue wave was more like a purple wave. It never really got blue. It was more purple. And so again, with all the shit that he maybe has said, done, whatever the case may be, Mississippi, right? We had the who ran for U.S. Senate got elected, though she made a blaring racial comment. Got elected. The governor of Florida tried to be, covert, but he still basically called brother, a monkey, and they still got elected. So all that shit being said, they still won. And there's nobody that I see in the Democratic Party that is anything new, anything to mobilize or get people charged up and say, yo, I want this person to win, get in. And what do you see? I mean, like I said, I know, and it sounds so wild, Phoenix, it sounds like, we're on the same wavelength here. But I really am trying to, I don't really want to make, I really wanted to just come, I want to hear more of what you're saying on this, because I think some of the listeners that I have, of course, have been kind of hearing me, and it's kind of like, okay, I really was coming from my experience of being out here talking to young folk, and really giving a different perspective, like, yo, this shit's not working. We're not with that. And so when I speak, I'm kind of speaking from, with your voice, if you will. That shit's played out. It's old. We're more about doing this shit ourselves, figuring it out on our own, versus, like you said, having this outside entity be in control of what my day-to-day is.
Right there with you.
Yeah.
Like it's I'm sorry, I got a little bit of an echo. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you good.
Can you hear me? Okay. I had an echo. I'm just gonna, reiterate your words. This shit ain't working.
Yeah.
Period. It's not. It's played, and we need something new.
Yeah. No. I feel it. Got a little disconnected again.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Cool. I've enjoyed this. How about you?
Yes, it's been great.
Cool. I appreciate your perspective too. Like, and I mean, I've been peeping your soul. Your soul comes out. You're reading from, what was the name of that book you're reading from?
Oh man. Working with the Law.
Working with the Law. Yes, that was it.
Yeah, that's a great book.
Yeah. I was digging those inserts in the morning. I was like, all right, cool. And but yeah,
I thought about bringing those back. I hear that all the time. I thought about bringing them back. So yeah, we'll see what manifests in this 2019.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was definitely, in the morning you get me where some of those days, you need that extra, you need,
yeah,
even if you believe
sure.
tuning in for a few minutes, kind of, okay, cool, rejuvenate, kind of a little bit of meditation helps me a little bit as well. I mean, I'm even checking out your on there, with the walls and everything, the artwork. And again, it's just one of those things that feeds the soul, right? So
absolute.
There's some sage over there in the corner or something.
Yeah, my incense.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm big on scent. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and I really feel like scent is like the foundation of luxury. Like but it's it's like subtle, you know, it's the subconscious, sensual. When
Mhm.
you smell something and it smells amazing, like, you know, it just heightens all your senses.
Yeah.
So I'm starting a candle line that'll be coming out in January called Gold Soul. So
Okay.
yeah, I love, you know, I love scentscaping. I think it really just takes you to another place, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, folks, that is our show, and we're gonna have Phoenix back. So Phoenix, you down with doing this on a like a quarterly basis
Yeah, absolute. That'd be great.
as well? So I'm looking forward to that,
Likewise.
folks. We're gonna figure out a way too, Phoenix, where you can put these on your website or whatever what have you as well, so people can just check them out when they want to check them out.
Sounds great.
I will definitely see. Like it. I like to be able to bounce things off of folks. Phoenix, you'll learn that I am I have a deep affinity for women. I'm a product of a single mom, you know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I've got a great appreciation for women, specifically black women.
Mhm.
My mama was black, so you know, specifically black. but but really, you know, women have a different energy. Period. I think you know the wound and its power definitely gives you guys a total different energy that I am captivated by, and so um, this has been good for me in a number of different ways, from a point as well as just you know just a different bouncing information in all the different fronts on that. So again, I appreciate
Definitely.
you, Joe. Appreciate you being on the show. Can't wait to have you back.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, yeah. So that's Phoenix Soul, folks, and tell them again where they can check out. So, guys, you can get her video, Charmer. The song Charmer is you can get that on all the different platforms from iTunes and all that stuff. And then the video, I think Phoenix said you can get too. So check that out. Check her out. That is our show for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yes, yes.
And until next week, folks. So,
Peace and love. Peace and love.
peace and love, all that good stuff. Let me see here. Until next week, keep moving forward.
The day that Geechee is gone, boy. And you going with it. Yeah, nigga. Metaphysics.